Well, as many assumed, the raid boss for the Root of Nightmares raid was, in fact, the final god of pain himself, Nezarec. And boy did we just absolutely get slammed with lore on all sides for this raid. Off the bat, I'm going to divide this lore up into 3 sources. The content in the Inspiral lore book I'll cover in a different video, and I'll explain why later. The second source is what we can learn from the loot in the raid. The weapons, the armor, the equipment. And finally, stuff we learned during the raid itself. Things Nezarec tells us, or the actions we're taking during the raid, which that is the section we're going to jump into first. The raid takes place on a pyramid ship above Earth, specifically the Witness's ship, the one the Traveler straight up blasted in Lightfall's opening cutscene. This beam used by the Traveler is its terraforming beam, hence it causing rapid and massive plant growth on the pyramid. Judging by the pattern left afterwards, this beam is how the Traveler terraformed all the planets in the system, as it matches what we see in places like the Cradle on Io. But unknowingly, the Witness had Nezarec's head, the only part of him that had been left in the pyramid on the moon, stored in his ship, and the Traveler infused light into Nezarec with this beam, reviving him and explaining why his psychic influence has only recently started appearing. In the first encounter, we can see the partially formed Nezarec in a chrysalis here. And so the concept of the raid is each encounter we are facilitating the growth of these roots on the ship, using both light and dark to continue the Traveler's terraforming, resulting in us completing this growth of Nezarec's new body so that we can actually kill him once and for all. And the final encounter takes place in the same spot the first one does, only changed as a result of the roots growing throughout the raid, and Nezarec now being fully formed and breaking out of the chrysalis. On our way there, we get snippets of dialogue from Nezarec, giving us the impression he had not been at his full power until now. And the most important thing learned through this dialogue is we finally get confirmation that it was Savathun who not only killed Nezarec, but cursed his remains, explaining the tragedy that followed all the relics carved from his corpse by the Elixni. And it was Savathun who hid the veil away on Neptune after killing Nezarec. I've separated the loot lore from this because the loot lore doesn't really have anything specifically to do with Nezarec himself. These lore tabs actually give us more insight into the old text of Hated Nezarec, the pre-Golden Age text referenced by the Nezarec's helmet. Everything here discusses the Acolytes of Nezarec, and the man who seems to be their current leader, Michael. This is a cult of Nezarec worshippers, a cult that has presumably been around since that pre-Golden Age era. Each of the stories here involves this unnamed tome, which, although there is no confirmation one way or the other, might itself be of Hated Nezarec. This tome seems to have teachings that allow these acolytes to siphon and harvest fear and pain, the domain of Nezarec. The raid's Sparrow, Dream Demon, is narrated from the point of view of one of Michael's parents, waking him on his 18th birthday to pass down the family tradition. It is his family that seemingly runs this cult, and it is now his turn to join as he is asked to use the tome to extract the fear from a captured Elixni. Each of the 3 armor sets describes what can be assumed to be Michael tracking down those influenced by Nezarec to recruit them to his cult, giving them the promise to feel Nezarec's full power once again. The Warlock set discusses Acacia, the Scion. Acacia shares a memory with Michael, a memory of Acacia's partner being touched by Nezarec, other Scions claiming her partner had been chosen and sacrificing that partner to him, finally confirming Nezarec's connection with the Scions at the very least. The Hunter armor talks about a weak Elixni captain, Caraxus, and how he had seen Nezarec's face in the lunar pyramid, taking one of the eyes for himself, and has been plagued by nightmares since, only to be tracked down and awoken by Michael at some point. And with the Titan armor set, the Titan, Briar, of the Wild Brambles, and his ghost, Firethorn. Briar narrates his tale to Michael, where Nezarec attached to him in the midst of battle, causing Briar to see shadows everywhere. In attempts to have these visions stop, he goes as far as to gouge out his own eyes, only to be healed over and over again by his ghost, in a constant cycle, to the point of Briar killing his ghost, his own ghost, Firethorn, to finally blind himself for good. Tangential to these stories even is the Gift of Cruelty ship, which describes what actually happened during the Drifter's visit to the 4th tomb of Nezarec. He's about to claim a relic there when confronted by a woman, and he says, "Hate to break it to you, sister, you and your Acolyte buddies will have to pass on this one," telling us that he is aware of the existence of these Acolytes, and definitely knows more than he's letting on. As for that new lore book in Spiral, I'm not covering it here because it is not finished yet. the last 2 chapters have not yet been revealed, and I think it would be a disservice to cover it here when we're missing those almost certainly very important chapters. I will say though that what we do have is a very interesting read, and you should definitely give it a once over yourself. It seems to be narrated from various viewpoints of both those who have embraced the darkness and those who fight against it. From the chapter narrated by a member of the Ecumene, a lost civilization attuned with the darkness, to chapters narrated by, I think, Eris Morn and our own Ghost. But we'll get into all that when those last chapters get revealed. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe down below. I'll see you next time.